Sunday Night Football. Did you watch? Maybe not. Well, you didn't really miss much, at least much exciting in terms of offense. It was all about defense. Cam Jordan with not one but 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, 5 tackles, a forced TB12 fumble in a crucial situation late in the game, and a partridge in a pear tree.
Wow, bro.
You know it's impressive when we're starting with Cam Jordan as the headliner, and New Orleans goes marching into the win column behind its defense. The always exciting 9-0 shutout. Whee! 9-0! Wow! Oh, man, all the pizzazz over the Buccaneers. And so with the win, the Saints improved to 7-7, the definition of mediocrity. And with the loss, Tampa drops to 10-4. Good buddy. And that is a costly loss for the Buccaneers as we work our way through and navigate our way through this Sunday night game. So let us discuss the better story in the losing locker room. So that is where we will go, and that is where we will stay here. The question, does Tom Brady get a pass because of all of the players out injured during the game? And that was one of the storylines here. The Buccaneers, the walking wounded, as 3 key players down for the count. So does Tom Brady get the old pass, the exemption, because of the injuries? And I am shaking my head no. No. I've got Bubblegum, MacGyver, and Michelangelo. And we will combine all of these things together, and that will be the foundation of this MALLER monologue. Now, to kick off, Tom Brady is not beyond criticism. You can be the greatest quarterback of all time and still deserve to be ripped apart based on a single performance. Both these things can simultaneously be true, and so Brady does deserve criticism. And we're going to give you some real talk. We used to have a caller back in the day called Real Talk, but he's gone now. There's no need to sugarcoat things. No need to sugarcoat anything. The Saints' scoring defense coming in the past month was ranked 17th in the NFL. So even though some of the numbers were pretty good overall for New Orleans on the year, recently this has not been a juggernaut defensively. And nothing to post about on social media. And yet the Bucs offense was completely baffled by the New Orleans front line. And it goes back to Tom Brady. He was not sharp. Tampa needed a razor-edged performance. And instead of that, they got a dull butter knife. Brady completing less than 55% of his passes, had a paltry 214 yards passing, completing 50, I think his passer rating was 57% was the final number. Surprised it wasn't lower than that. And so essentially what Brady was in this game was bubblegum. He was used and abused like bubblegum. The Saints defense able to chew Brady up and spit him out, as Tom Brady having to do the walk of shame and the rage, the hissy fit from Tom Brady as he threw down a tablet, blaming the tablet for the lack of gusto, pizzazz for the Buccaneers. Now, furthermore, the TB12 Marching and Chowder Society, they are already running to put up a human shield, a firewall in front of Tom Brady, that it's not his fault. Tampa was shorthanded in this game. They didn't have the ammunition. You can't blame Tom Brady. Chris Godwin, out. Looks like he'll be out for a little while. We will know more later. Mike Evans, gone. Leonard Fournette, all knocked out of that game with various injuries. And so you can't blame Brady. He was a fish out of water. And he was the carpenter without his tools. Well, that doesn't fly. At least not here, because if you are the Goaty McGoat, which Tom Brady is, and nobody can really push back on that, although our friend Rob Parker tries, Tom Brady's the GOAT. He was the MVP front runner coming into this game. This was a night without the key players there, and they started the game. Keep in mind, the Buccaneers, the main reason Brady doesn't get a pass is that the start of the game, all those guys were playing, and the Bucs still didn't score. So even when they had all the weapons, Tampa was still not efficient, was not effective. They did have a missed field goal by Suckup. But this was a night Tom Brady needed to be the Swiss Army knife, right? MacGyvering. Be MacGyver. The solution to the Buccaneers' problems on this night was Tom Brady turning to his trusty Swiss Army knife and some duct tape. And instead, the backups were exposed, Tom Brady's shortcomings were exposed, and Brady was the king turd of crap mountain for the Buccaneer offense. Disorganized, bewildered, befuddled, the Buccaneer offense on this night. Now, listen, the Saints get some credit, but this was more about what the Bucs didn't do than what the Saints did do. And Tom Brady playing like the guy who was drowning near the end of his run with the Patriots. And this reminded me is very, very similar, although not actually worse than he was with the Patriots at the end when they said, well, he doesn't have any playmakers with the Patriots. And Brady just not able to get it done, doing it against a team without its head coach and the opposition quarterback. It's not like Taysom Hill had his defining moment and said, I beat Tom Brady. Taysom Hill was manhandled by the Tampa defense. He completed less than 50% of his passes for 5.7 yards per attempt. Now, remember, an average NFL quarterback in the modern offensive happy league is at 7 yards per attempt. And Taysom Hill was at 5.7 and had a passer rating below 70. And his claim to fame is the gadget guy. He can win games with his legs. How'd that go? 11 carries for 33 yards. Averaged 3 yards per attempt. So nothing to get all jazzed up about. And then the shocker of shockers, that New Orleans goes into the pirate ship and beats the Buccaneers. And Alvin Kamara, the supersonic torpedo, completely flummoxed in this game. And, it's 9-0, so everyone was flummoxed on offense. But Alvin Kamara had 11 carries for 18 yards. He averaged 1.6 yards per rush attempt. Trash. It was a trash day and a stunner as the Saints end up getting the win. So, all right, last thing here. So with the loss for the Bucs, Tom Brady has now lost his lead in the MVP race. Is that true or false? I say that's true. That statement is a fact that Tom Brady is no longer out in front in the MVP race. This thing is wide open. Now, what's my evidence? Now, you combine this performance with the last 5 performances by Tom Brady, even though he was in the lead for the MVP, Tom Brady's numbers are lackluster over the last month and a half. TB12 is completing about 67% of his passes, which is really good. Averaging, though, 6.5 yards per attempt, 11 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. The last month and a half, Tom Brady's passer rating is below 90. He's putting up your typical Jared Goff stat line. That's your MVP? Come on. Aaron Rodgers is the MVP frontrunner, but he's got a problem. He's got a big problem, okay? And we're going to talk more about the Packers later. But the big problem for Aaron Rodgers is he has to overcome the wokerati in the football media, the people that vote for the MVP award, the wokesters, a lot of them mixed among the football media who are holding a grudge because of the COVID shenanigans. And when Rodgers says, when he said back in the day that he was immunized, and people assumed because of that he was vaccinated and hanging out with Joe Rogan, this upset the mainstream establishment. And they like to hold grudges. So he's got to overcome that, which means Rodgers, to win the MVP award, even though statistically he's out in front, he's got to be way out in front. He's not way out in front. And that's the problem. And while Tom Brady, if you look at his recent play here, he has put up the equivalent of a finger painting from a kindergartner over the last 6 weeks. On the other side of the ledger, Aaron Rodgers has been Michelangelo, painting the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel there. Just a masterpiece, right? Aaron Rodgers, the last 6 weeks, Rodgers has averaged 8 yards per attempt, 15 touchdowns, 1 interception for the Green Bay Packers. 15 touchdowns, 1 interception last month and a half, and a glorious stat line. And what about the running back? Others are pointing out, if you saw the game on Saturday, the Colts walloped the Patriots. Final score not indicative of how lopsided that game was. But Jonathan Taylor in that game had 170 yards and a touchdown in the win over the Pats. And so is Jonathan Taylor the MVP frontrunner? And I say no. I've already voted for Aaron Rodgers. And if you are on Team Taylor, that is what's known as wishful thinking. So I am dismissing Jonathan Taylor, and I'll tell you why. Right? Those who vote for the MVP see things with a jaundiced eye. They are very narrow-minded when it comes to the MVP. And if you look at the history of the award, they are predisposed to vote for the top quarterback. And so Taylor's the top running back, but he's not going to sniff first-place votes. He'll get a lot of second place, and he'll finish. The way the voting goes, I could see him finishing in the top 5 and maybe even the top 3, but not as the actual MVP to win the award and take home the hardware. That's going to go to a quarterback. It should go to Aaron Rodgers based on his performance right now, which will also torpedo the Packers based on if you believe in the jinx of the MVP award in the NFL. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts. But let's get back to the Buccaneers, the reigning Super Bowl champions, and all that mumbo-jumbo as they go down and get shut out. Bruce Arians looking completely dazed and confused on the sidelines as the Bucs could not figure out how to move the ball into the end zone. Here's Bruce Arians on what it's like to get pushed around by the Saints.
Very disappointing. It's never happened to me. I don't know. I can't remember last time I shut out or us. But our kicking game, our kickers let us down also. I mean, this is between the offense and the kicking game. It cost us the game. The defense played good enough to win.
Now, Tom Brady and his devilishly handsome looks, boy, he is a bad loser, which I don't have a problem with. I'm very similar to Tom Brady in that respect. But anyway, here is Tom Brady pointing out that this, that, and the other thing were not on the side of the Bucs.
We just didn't execute great, obviously. Just a tough night, so didn't do much anything right. So got to get a lot better. Got to get back to work. There's a lot of football left, and see if we can go get a win next week.
Hey, I have noticed it only took me 20 years to have this epiphany. When the Patriots lose and when Tom Brady loses, the answers are pretty much the same. Remember, the Patriots looked terrible for most of the game against the Colts over the weekend on Saturday. And what does Bill Belichick come out? He says the same thing after every Patriot loss. We've got to coach better. We've got to play better. We didn't coach well. We didn't play well. And Tom Brady, after whatever team, whether it's the Patriots or the Bucs, when his team loses, it's the same thing. They go right into page 3 of sportscliche.com, the loser's locker room, and they repeat the same mantra over and over and over again. And so we could pull a Tom Brady soundbite. We can go back in the archive at Fox Sports Radio, the audio vault, and go back to pick a year, 2008, 2009, even further back than that, and you will hear almost verbatim the same thing coming out of Tom Brady after some random Patriot loss. It's the language, the verbiage